We received hundreds of questions tonight, and our city teams narrowed those down, looking for those common threads, and we narrowed them down to 3 with multiple parts. Each developer will have 5 minutes to respond. We have Tony here keeping time. He'll give you a 1-minute warning for the conclusion. And for each question, we have 3 questions. There are multiple parts. We'll have a different team order, different firm order for each one. So I'll start with the first question. It's regarding affordable housing, financing, and phasing. What is the source of financing for affordable housing? Does your proposal rely upon federal tax credits that require competitive applications? How does this impact project construction phasing? What will you do if you cannot get the tax credits and competitive financing? And we have Restoration Associates up first for that response.
As far as phasing goes and sources of funding, let me first say that we are a small local development company. However, we are a joint venture partner with some of the largest players in the tax credit equity and financing market. Alliant Capital has formed a development arm, ADC Communities, and selected only 8 companies nationwide. We're one of those, and the third that they selected to joint venture with. So what I'm saying is behind us stands some of the largest, most creative, most experienced people in the financing world. And if there is a structure or a source available, we know about it. In my own personal career, I've pursued every kind of gap funding. I've encountered all sorts of different headwinds that you cannot foresee. I couldn't tell you now that there would be a tax credit exchange program that would provide funding when the equity market went away during the 2008 Great Recession. I couldn't tell you that Florida Housing would have construction housing inflation response program funding available, but they did that because the need arose to have that kind of gap financing. What we do at my company is we stay on top of where things stand. We get involved in shaping where things go. And as far as what we have planned right now, for the first 1,000 units, 400 of those will be workforce housing, which is not something that, at least at this point in time, through Florida Housing, has a competitive cycle. If I were in Monroe County, I would be able to take advantage of that, but they don't have it for this area right now. So that would be done through a combination of vehicles, but the principal thing we would be relying on would be the permanent loan execution through HUD, either a 221D4, 223F, financing that is lower interest, that is, has a longer amortization period, so it keeps the payments lower, and a longer loan term. So the thing about affordable housing is we don't throw off on these developments, and workforce too, as much revenue from our rents, naturally, as you would with another market rate development. But we have the same expenses. So there has to be a way to keep your debt service low. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And again, all I can say is we've done this many times. Now, yes, 9% credits are competitive, but we have set aside 2 different phases of 100 each, and those will go in, and this can be done simultaneously if we set up separate applicant entities and we obtain local government area of opportunity funding. That's a mouthful, but it simply means that the local government is putting enough money into this development to say, this is something we want to see happen, and they only give it to that development and no one else. We would like to request that funding from Pinellas County and from the city of St. Pete so that 2 applications can go in at once. Applications with that sort of funding are what Florida Housing has targeted for large counties such as Pinellas. So by doing it that way, we would stand a very good chance of having one of those 2 applications funded. They'll only fund 1 per county. So that would allow us to get started. Another thing that we would do to help with the timing and with getting other units underway is we would start on the non-competitive tax credit applications that are for 4% instead of 9% credits. And those are coupled with tax-exempt bonds. There's plenty that we can do to start moving the bond process forward. The 4% credits are a matter of right once you secure the tax-exempt bonds. They come directly from the U.S. Treasury. They're not competitive at all. What is competitive is the additional funding you need to make those deals work. And that is something that, again, there are multiple sources. SAIL is the one that comes through the Florida Housing Finance Corporation.
Thank you. We have Hines and Rays for the question. I can reread it if you're, are you good?
Yeah, that was 5 minutes ago. So
Yes.
I
will so again, affordable housing, financing, and phasing. What is the source of financing for affordable housing? Does your proposal rely upon federal tax credits that require competitive applications? How does this impact project construction phasing? What will you do if you cannot get the tax credits and competitive financing?
Awesome. So, again, good evening, everyone. Bua Benitier, founder and principal of Dante's Partners, a firm that exclusively is in the business of providing and preserving affordable housing units. So for context, number one, what does affordable housing mean? And I say this all the time. Just because a Lamborghini is affordable to LeBron James does not mean it's affordable to me, right? So I'm in the business of making sure that we create housing that is affordable to professionals. So in order to do that, it means that the city, state, or county has said, I am deliberately going to make sure that you live in a place that costs less than what you can afford. Let me repeat again. The county is saying, I'm going to provide you with housing that costs less than you can afford. And this county is basically contributing resources to make that happen. So this is how it goes down. There are a plethora of financing options that are available that I have utilized over the course of the last 17 years to help produce 7,000 affordable housing units that I own, that I have financed with my existing lenders and hopefully future lenders and equity investors for this particular project. What are those plethora of options? You've got competitive federal tax dollars, you've got 4%, you've got regular tax dollars, you've got bonds, you've got tax credits, but you also have other creative financing tools that you can utilize, whether it's TIF dollars or whether it's purely land value. But none of this happens without the commitment and collaboration with our city partners. It doesn't happen without our city partners. As much as I want to develop as many affordable housing units that I think we all need, the city is a part of that process as well, which I have successfully done across 4 states, 7,000 units, of which over 14,000 households are part of my communities today, and I am happy, should we be awarded the site, to replicate the exact same thing that we've done here for you all. Thank you very much.
And we have 50+1 Sports and then Sugar Hill Community Partners to respond.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. So I'm going to let Tom ask this question, but let me just get, like a no-nonsense person, okay? Affordable housing, especially when it comes to renting, is because the owner puts it at a price point that people can't afford. Isn't that a way of looking at it? If I was Elon Musk and I wanted to give St. Pete a free area, I could put it at $1 if I didn't care about making any money, and everyone in this room could afford to live there. It's all about how much money we want to make. So before we can start looking at the city, you got to look at yourself and say, how greedy am I? Because if I really care about the citizens, the people of St. Pete, I want to put it at a rate that everyone can live there in the same place. And with the amount of money we give in the city, we can definitely sit down with the mayor and his staff and say, if we got to take a bullet and you take a bullet, let's make this affordable for everybody. Affordable housing don't mean building cheap stuff either. It's the highest quality of materials. But it all comes down to how much money, as a developer, I'm willing to make, or how much money I'm willing to give back to the community. If you don't start there, everything we talking about is a bunch of BS. It doesn't mean anything. Houses don't charge by themselves. Someone puts a price on that house, right? Now, if you want a really intelligent answer, I'm gonna give him the phone. Give it to him right quick. Here you go, Tom.
Thank you. My name's Tom Demuth, and over my years of experience in development, I've done a lot of affordable housing as well. I kind of grew up in the tax credit industry. I'm not going to go into a lot of details because we can do that another time, and a lot of these regulations are very boring. So there's two types of tax credits that are available. There's 9% and the 4%. The 9% is a competitive process, and we will try to use that program as much as possible. Whether it's available or not is another question, but we are building this over 15 years, so it's not like we have to get all our, we're not going to use all the 9% in the first year. We're going to do it over time. And we have a few what I call enhancers that give us a better option. We're using opportunity zones. We're using the sale program that was previously mentioned. There are enhancements for energy efficiency, which we will be using, mainly the PACE program. And if we comply with that program, we get an enhancer on the tax credits. We'll create jobs as well, so we'll get an enhancer for that. If all else fails and we can't get the 9% credit, we will use the 4% credit, and we will twin the tax credit with opportunity zone funding as well. So that's kind of our plan. That's our plan. We've done this before. I don't want to bore you with the details, but we know how to do this, and we can do it, and we will do it. And we got a great partner like JLL on the capital markets side that will support us and help us in the marketplace.
Thank you. Sugar Hill Community Partners, would you like me to reread the question, or are we?
I think I'm good. Dan Coakley, PMG, one of the development partners in the affordable team with Sugar Hill. Make no mistake, financing affordable and workforce housing in this environment, like any other real estate assets, is challenging, right? Interest rates have gone up, and so you really need to call upon all your skill and experience and leverage everything that your team has done to be able to reduce these financing gaps that exist in affordable housing deals. Number one, we have done it. We've financed as a team 2,500 affordable housing units through the tax credit program with subsidy, coupling with it in the Tampa, St. Pete area over the last 10 years. It's a local, regional, and state-run business. When you're applying for tax credits, you have to go to Florida Housing. So you really have to have done affordable housing in Florida to qualify for these competitive tax credits. That's number one. Number two, on the workforce side, PMG is a market rate developer and affordable developer. We look at workforce housing as basically market rate housing with lower rents. And so we're used to partnering with lenders, with equity partners, and on this particular product, we have a relationship with Bank of America, who is our partner on our Robles project in Tampa, which we're the master developer partner with the Tampa Housing Authority on, to finance workforce housing. So there are more and more programs coming out to finance workforce housing. And one of the things we're going to do to make it easier to finance is put some of those workforce units in market rate buildings. So you don't need to have a discrete workforce building to deliver workforce units. We think we can put a big component of those workforce units within market rate buildings and finance it conventionally like we finance most of our projects. And so in the spirit of sort of needing to leverage every advantage you have to minimize financing gaps, I think it's important to mention that our third development partner is the St. Pete Housing Authority, and that puts us in an extremely unique position. St. Pete Housing Authority is obviously a mission-driven organization responsible for affordable housing in St. Pete. No one is going to care more about affordable housing in St. Pete than our partner, the Housing Authority. And our partnership with them allows us to access some of their financing tools and resources to make our projects easier to finance, to fill in those gaps. Access to vouchers that they control and administer. Unrestricted vouchers, vouchers for veterans, and different types of vouchers. So I guess in summary, you do have to be creative in this financing environment. You have to have done it here in Florida, which we have done. And you have to sort of look at this creatively, you know, as both an affordable and market rate developer to really figure out how to put all this financing together. Thanks.